Hey guys, welcome and thanks so much for joining me. Today I want to talk about listening to people who think differently from you. And boy, do I recognize that is a difficult thing to accomplish in today's climate. But for that reason, I also believe it's very important because if nobody is listening, nobody is being heard. And I think we can see that that doesn't lead anywhere good. More importantly than that, I believe that the church should be leading out in this. And I'm not sure that we are right now. So it has to be acknowledged that within the church, that is within the body of people who believe in Jesus Christ as their Savior from sin and acknowledge Him as Lord of their lives, within that body, there are many different schools of thought on any given issue. And often what we do within the church is we make it a different thought, a matter of moral or intellectual superiority, right? So I think this way, therefore I am better than you or smarter than you because you think that way. Within the church, we also have the capacity, and I've seen it a lot, of where we make it a matter of because I think this way, I love Jesus more, or I follow Him better than you do because you think that way. And that causes us to accuse people. It causes us to make negative assumptions about other people because they think differently from us, and it puts us into this elevated position. And the fact is, we may or may not be right in what we're thinking, right? Just because of the diversity of the school of thought, we could be wrong, but we're not willing to entertain that. So I just want to offer some thoughts, brief thoughts, on how we can kind of overcome that and start listening to each other rather than elevating ourselves above each other, right? The first thing that I'm trying to do right now is assume that the person's life experiences are different from my own, and that's why they think differently from me. Not that they're better or worse than my own, but that they're different from my own. And so they're coming at it from a completely different perspective. Of course, that is not always the case. I have 4 brothers, but one of my brothers is 5.5 years older than me. And probably the only thing we agree on is that his kids are cute, right? We don't agree on much else. And up until we went to college, we had the similar life experiences, right? We were raised by the same 2 parents, raised in the same homes, and really had much of the same things built into us, right? But as we got into college, our personality, our passions, our giftings kind of started to come out and play out, and we began to choose different things, I would say, largely based on those things. I don't think we made moral decisions necessarily about any of it, just that we had different personalities and we chose different things. We had different passions, we chose different things, different giftings, we chose different things. So we made different decisions from there about where we would apply those things. And so from there we've had different experiences that lead us to think about things very differently. So it's not always experience. Sometimes it's personality and passion and gifting. And of course, personality, passion, giftings are all going to come together and work within our specific lives to dictate where we spend our time, energy, and resources. That's true of anybody. So maybe we advocate for different things because we're passionate about different things, and that's just where we put our time, energy, and resources. It doesn't mean one of us is better or worse than the other. It just means we're different from each other. So consider someone else's experience, consider their personality before making a moral, intellectual, or spiritual judgment about them, right? The other thing, and I picked this up way back in college, is to ask good questions. And I would add in this time with heightened tensions and just heightened defensiveness and just heightened emotions, I would ask good questions without making the other person or party defensive. And I recognize that is really hard to do, but it can be done. Maybe say something like, I heard you say such and such. I hadn't heard that perspective before. Would you mind expanding on, a detail of such and such for me? And ask them. Like, don't go up to anybody and demand, why do you think the way you think, But we really have to stop. If we really want to hear people, if we really want to have conversations, we have to stop making it a matter of us being better and a matter of us being different. And okay, how might this person see something? Why might this person see something differently than I see it? What in their experience, what in their personality, what in their passions and gifting and where they're putting themselves would make them see this from differently? What perspective do they have that I don't have? Because the truth is we all have incomplete perspectives. We can't all see things, we're not God from all different points of view. But we can learn to ask and learn to be with people in these different perspectives. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to say today on that. But yeah, maybe this week find someone and talk to them. Find someone thinks differently on you on some of the issues that we're seeing right now. Maybe Confederate monuments, maybe. Reparations, that's a really charged one, but if you feel comfortable talking to somebody and learning their perspective on it, which may differ from yours, I'd say go for it. And I would say get comfortable, talking about things that are a little bit more charged and that may affront you personally. Like, what I'm saying? That may feel like an affront personally, because it's not, but like maybe something that you believe really deeply or care very deeply about, and go to somebody else and learn that perspective. Like that's a difficult one for me. When I care about something, like I know why I believe what I believe, and I don't really care to hear somebody else's opinion about it because it's not going to change mine, but it can change my perspective about that person, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I would just look at those things. It's interesting. I wasn't going to go into an issue, but I think I will since I have some time. I was watching yesterday, like one of the live police shows, that have the crews that go out and tape police officers as they're doing their jobs, and just talking about, like why they didn't hand certain footage over to the police and why it wasn't reported, and just really talking to this I guess he's a producer within one of the companies or something. And he's trying to explain his perspective, as a filmmaker and being in that situation, which is something I can relate to, right? Because when you're there to document. You're not there to get involved. You getting involved, like the presence of a camera and a crew actually changes things from reality, but you want to keep it as close to reality as possible. Like you're not even there. So to intervene is a whole different thing, and that's a thing that filmmakers definitely understand. But yeah, so it's just interesting to hear different perspectives, and that's something that, like, maybe from a moral perspective or something, or something that I would consider, like, yeah, if there's something, going on, then that should be turned over to the police. Or maybe, if it's something that's like, somebody's being killed or losing their lives, Maybe I should like get out from behind the camera and call the police and intervene. You know what I'm saying? But it's a very nuanced discussion about that. Like even like I was in college. I mean, it's been 9 years since I graduated almost, but I remember in my senior year taking a class called Cinema Verite, which means, film truth basically. And it's about that documentary style where you're just there and you don't get involved, and I remember, and we would have discussions about, the ethics of certain things and the morals of certain things. So it's a nuanced discussion, and that's true of every issue. And I was just thinking about that, and how it related to me personally. But everybody's got a different perspective. So try to see them as somebody who's just coming at life from a different place than you, from a different personality, passions, giftings than you, and ask them about it, because that's gonna put you level with them instead of above them. It's easier to protect our egos and stuff to be above somebody rather than, with them and asking questions, but not particularly helpful to the dialogue. So anyways, that's all I've got right now. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you again for joining me.